Jonathan Kuminga has absolutely been held hostage for the Golden State Warriors over his 4-year career in the NBA. And I understand some of it. This is a guy that's shown flashes, but as of right now, that's all they are, flashes. But Kuminga still sits in the open market, waiting for a deal from possibly the Golden State Warriors or maybe a sign and trade, sending Jonathan Kuminga to another team. So the question I have in this video is, what can Jonathan Kuminga be? Can he still be that all-star type of player that we saw coming into the draft process, or is he destined to be a role player? Is he asking for way too much money in the open market, or is his trade value so low that no teams have tried to make inquiries on him? And in today's episode of At the Buzzer Sports, we're going to be finding out if Jonathan Kuminga is really worth the asking price. So how could a guy going into year 5 after averaging 15 points per game on 53% true shooting still be worth the asking price that the Golden State Warriors are asking? By reports, they're asking for a young player and a first-round pick for Jonathan Kuminga, as the Warriors believe this is the last asset they have on the table that can bring something relevant to their team to become championship contenders once again. This season, Jonathan Kuminga shot 39% in the paint non-restricted area, 25% on floaters, and 24% in the mid-range. But he managed to get himself to a 50% efficiency inside the arc. And this is because he shot 71% in the restricted area. And when I look at Jonathan Kuminga, I really see the upside of a guy that can be one of the better play finishers in the NBA because of all his different counters and versatility of getting to the rim. But the problem is how the Golden State Warriors play their game. When I look at Jonathan Kuminga, I see a guy that can excel in transition, somebody that can excel as a roll man, and already excels as a cutter in the NBA. But the problem with the Golden State Warriors is they were bottom 5 in pick and roll attempts. They are midway to bottom of the league in transition possessions per game, and these are things that Jonathan Kuminga could excel at. As you can see, when Jonathan Kuminga is on the floor, he has a really good feel of the timing of his cuts. The second the defense collapses on Looney, he cuts to the basket, creating a really good rim finish. He also has a really good feel of when to attack smaller guards in cutting. Once he gets the ball here, he's going to seal off Royce O'Neal, get to the restricted area, and finish around the rim. But one of my biggest gripes with Jonathan Kuminga is the on-ball play. I feel as though the Golden State Warriors would like Jonathan Kuminga to play a role that puts a lot of pressure on the rim, gets to the free throw line, and creates easier buckets for the guys around him. But the problem with Kuminga is he doesn't play make really well. He doesn't really have a feel for passing. He's not a really good over-the-top shot maker. And he's not really the best on-ball driver either. And a lot of this has to do with the handle. I think he doesn't create the best mid-range looks because he just does not have the handle. When you watch Jonathan Kuminga drive and when you watch him rise up for mid-range shots, they're mostly contested because he does not have the ball handle to create on the perimeter as much as you would like him to. And therefore leaning for a lot of tough fadeaway shots, leaning on a lot of elbow jumpers that just are heavily contested and don't go down. On top of him not having the touch, it makes it very difficult for him to create easy mid-range shots, and this is why, in my opinion, he shot 24% from this area. And I think when he's matched up against wings or guards that may have the strength that he has or the athleticism that he has, a lot of defenses don't necessarily collapse. And this leads into him taking a lot of shots, him baiting refs to try and get to the free throw line, or just not making the proper reads that he needs to make when kicking the ball out when driving. This leads to him picking up his dribble way too early and just being able to get put in tough situations as a driver. Here he gets matched up with Dillon Brooks and he just does not create the angle to get to the rim effectively, and instead of passing out when he sees Alperen Sengun, he goes for the shot. We're going to see in this clip here how he gets the ball against Harrison Barnes, gets a pretty good screen, and just does not have the counters to be able to dribble through traffic, and he gets stripped. We see this multiple times when Jonathan Kuminga is driving to the basket, and I think that's where he struggles when getting to the rim with the ball in his hand. And I think in a lot of those looks, you would really like to see a floater game to where he does not have to necessarily get to the restricted area every single time he has the ball in his hand, just a floater or a mid-range pull-up that he can go to, but he just has not shown the touch around the basket to get to that consistently. So I definitely could see why teams may be a little skeptical on why they should not trade for Jonathan Kuminga or pay him the money he's asking for. I would surely think that he's roughly asking for around $20 to $30 million a season, but I just don't think that that is the asking price that he should be asking for, and I don't think a young player and a first-round pick is what the Warriors should be asking for Jonathan Kuminga. I do think, sadly, that he's probably going to stay in Golden State because I don't think the asking price is worth what the Golden State Warriors are asking for. But I do think in a different situation, Jonathan Kuminga could be very, very valuable to what an offense is trying to do. I think a few teams like Charlotte or Phoenix would be really good for Jonathan Kuminga, somebody that can play in the pick and roll. LaMelo Ball is a guard that plays in the pick and roll, plays in transition, and is a really good lob passer. I think he would fit perfectly with what Charlotte's trying to do, which is push pace and shoot as much threes as possible. He has guys around him like Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball who can match his transition style of play. He can be a roller, he can be a cutter, and he can be the play finisher I think Jonathan Kuminga can be. But the sad truth is he just has not gotten the consistent minutes to work through all of these kinks. It looks like ever since he started getting minutes for the Golden State Warriors, they've been trying to win. I mean, in his rookie season, they won a championship. They've never really given him the opportunity to work through these kinks and to work through all these struggles that he had coming into the league. So when you have a player who's looking for an extension but hasn't gotten the opportunity to fully work through all the issues that he has, I think this is where the struggle comes. Because I don't know if there's a team willing to give up a young player and a first-round pick to see if Jonathan Kuminga becomes what we think he can become, or maybe some people that are optimistic may think he can become, but is he worth just letting go or just letting him stay in Golden State without at least giving it a chance? That's the question we're trying to figure out. And ultimately, I don't think Jonathan Kuminga has the ceiling we may have thought he did coming into the NBA, because now it's going to be time to pay him. And I don't necessarily think he's going to be that all-star player that we once thought he could be, but I do think he could be a very valuable piece to an important offense on a team that's trying to win a championship in the near future. I just think he has to really stay into that value or to that role where he can be a play finisher, somebody that can finish plays in transition, in pick and roll, as a cutter, as he's shown throughout his career so far. But asking him to create on the perimeter and create shots and make over-the-top shots, I just don't think that's where he could excel at this point in his career. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Jonathan Kuminga goes to a new situation and maybe he fixes everything that we've had struggles with. Maybe the playmaking gets better. Maybe the mid-range shooting gets better. Maybe the touch outside of the restricted area gets better, and maybe the floater gets better and he just becomes this offensive player that we thought he could become. But who knows, because I don't think the Golden State Warriors run a scheme that best fits him. But ladies and gentlemen, you guys let me know in the comment section. Is Jonathan Kuminga the type of player that you could give up a young asset and a first-round pick for to see if he really reaches that potential? Or do you think you should leave him in Golden State without paying him and just let him figure it out over there? If you guys like this type of content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you guys follow me on Twitter at ATBSports1. Make sure you guys follow me on TikTok at TheBuzzerENT. Make sure you guys follow me on Instagram at TheBuzzerSports_. And make sure you guys join my playback where we're going to be watching old games throughout the entire offseason at TheBuzzerSports. And if you guys like this type of content, once again, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.